She got entangled in a love affair that saw her kill her 10-year-old brother when she was only 11. The State versus Maria Kitawa and Pilot Mwabingu. This is Case Files. Maria Kitawa Mavunde has known Langata Women's Prison as her second home since she was 11. She was jailed almost 2 decades ago for a crime she says she was forced to commit. And while she admits she stabbed her brother, her story paints her as a victim just as much as it shows she was a killer.
Mbuka hiyo season, baba yangu na mama yangu walikuwa wameachana.
That was not the only burden on the shoulders of the 11-year-old. With nobody to protect her in the broken home, Maria was forced into a sexual relationship by an older man, a construction worker in his early 20s, Pilot Mwabingu. It was this man, she says, who will later make her kill her younger brother. Pilot Mwabingu was employed at Maria's home at around the time he allegedly began sexually abusing her. While her father and other siblings knew nothing about the abuse, it did not escape the notice of her younger brother Mwanzala. Mwanzala was only 10 years old at the time. It was clear to Mwanzala that whatever was going on between her sister and the construction worker was wrong. His threats to tell their father about the abuse must have concerned Mwabingu. He then hatched a plot to stop the youngster from ever speaking about it.
Akaniambia chukua hii kisu, udunge brother yako tumalize, ili tufanye nini? Ili tuendelee na relationship yangu.
One Saturday night in January 1994, Mwabingu approached Maria with a plan to eliminate Mwanzala. The execution was simple and cold-blooded. Armed with a knife and in the dark of the night, they will silence the boy. 17 years later, Maria Kitawa told Case Files what she told the trial judge, Justice Philip Waki, about the night she went from victim to killer.
Nilienda na yeye na kanishikisha mkono yangu, si yeye alidunga, mimi ndo nilidunga brother yangu. Ameniforce. Nikamdunga brother yangu hapa kwa kifua. Once tu akapiga mayowe na akaenda. Sasa kuenda, Pilot akatoka nje akakimbia akaenda.
As she stabbed her brother, Mwabingu stood right behind her, urging her to stab him again and again until it was no more. Another of Maria's young brothers was in a nearby bed. While the terrified boy had seen what had happened, he kept his tears and screams to himself.
Nikashindwa nifanye nini? Nikimshika hivi amekufa kabisa, yani amekuwa baridi ile ya ukweli. Nikashindwa nifanye nini? Kumbe vile mjamaa amerudi, kuna mahali kulikuwa kuna shimo, ilikuwa choo zamani, lakini hatukuwa tunaitumia. Akaniambia ile kitu tutafanya ni hivi, tutamchukua tumburute mpaka kwa hiyo shimo. Alafu tukiamka usubuhi utachukua hii clay soil, lakini iko na maji. Tukamrusha hapo ndani.
While Maria admits to the killing 17 years later, the man she says she killed for denies ever taking part in the murder.
Kabisa sikumbuka kumdunga kisu. Hapana. Ya mgongo. Hata maisha yangu sijafikiria kuua mtu mimi.
Maria Kitawa was the first person to be arrested after the January murder after a younger brother revealed what he saw. The 11-year-old child willingly confessed to the police the details of her beastly act. Mwabingu was soon brought in for questioning. To this day, he says he was not at the scene of the murder.
Alichukua maziwa akirudi akakuta wenzake wamekula chakula wamemnyima. Akamwambia umeninyima chakula utaona. Akamwacha mwenzake akalala akashikwa na usingizi akamtoboa kisu hapo. Akamdunga kingine cha mbavu hapo. Akamkata tena akampoa kidole hapo.
One of Maria's brothers was later to tell the court. Maria came in and started asking for food. There was none as the children had eaten it all. Maria went outside and came back with the Pilot. I then saw Maria pick a knife and came to where we were sleeping. She uncovered Mwanzala, held him by the throat, covering his mouth with a blanket, and he then stabbed him. After killing her own brother, Maria dragged his lifeless body out of the house with Mwabingu's help and dumped it in a pit latrine before going back into the house. The following day, Maria tried to conceal the body by filling some openings in the pit latrine with clay, something the child says she was told to do by Mwabingu. But their plan to conceal the killing of the 10-year-old did not last long. The local area chief was told about the killing by a family member of the deceased. He later told the court that when he went to the scene, he saw drops of blood, which led him to the pit latrine and Mwanzala's body. As soon as the other children retired to bed, Pilot appeared, and with a strong voice, he asked me where my brother was sleeping. I showed him where he was sleeping. Pilot then grabbed me and led me to where he was and gave me a knife. He then told me to stab him on the right side of the chest. In his ruling, Justice Philip Waki said Maria was only 11 and she was too young to resist the directives of the older man who was having a sexual relationship with her. Even though she was the only one who stabbed Mwanzala to death, Pilot Mwabingu was responsible for the killing. Before sending him to the gallows, the trial judge said in part, "I believe Maria at that young age became romantically entangled with Pilot, and the deceased had become an impediment to their affair. There was motive and opportunity enough to eliminate Mwanzala. Because of her age, Maria was not sentenced to death. She was instead detained at the president's pleasure."
Na mimi nikae huko, na hata nikitoka hata siwezi kukutana mimi na yeye, kwa sababu kama si yeye singekuwa hapa saizi. Siwezi Dennis, siwezi kusema ukweli.
The event that occurred in Mukiayo village in Taita Taveta district continues to haunt the two. Their heinous crime forced a foreign government to intervene and demand for answers. The story of 7 gangsters who reigned terror in Mombasa. Dennis Onsarigo for Case Files.